And we're back with Richard Reviews. Today we are reviewing a book for richardreviews.com/Griffin Chestnut. On this channel, Richard reviews all these books, all these movies, these mangas, Japanese serial comics, technical defaults, Samsung TVs, and more TV shows. Anything that Richard is attracted to. Today's book Richard will be reviewing for us is titled Old Man's War by John Scalzi. This is the New York Times best-selling author, and this is officially starred in the review of Publishers Weekly Digest. This is the first of a series. Richard has read a decent amount of the pieces in the series, but not the complete series. He has read at least 4 or 5 of the captivating and sequels to ultimately this piece right here. This is Old Man's War. This is Richard's piece. It's a tiny piece. It's not that big, but it is Richard's piece nonetheless. So we're going to talk about everything that's in this piece from front to back, from top to bottom. This is Richard's piece. This piece was recommended to Richard through a personal friend through the introduction of the upper period known as the Galactic Force, which Richard is a New York native, and he obtained this piece in 2014. He completed reading this piece in 2014 as well, as did the a formidable mention of his requirement. Richard is from the upstate New York area, near the town of Schenectady, and he has done a lot of outdoor hiking and camping around the Adirondack mountain range. That's where he did a lot of his writing and his thinking. He wrote a detailed response for the total review of this piece, which you could find in the description down below. Everything that Richard is talking about here can be found in the description below, as you can find it on his channel as well. Other reviews that Richard will be mentioning throughout this book review. As its entirety, we're going to talk about the condition first. Now, the condition of the piece is it's in very good condition. Richard keeps these pieces in very good condition. As you can tell, it's a small, light piece, and it is soft cover. Okay, it's got pretty good bend. It's got very good bend, actually. And it is a pretty girthy piece for such a small novel. It's pocket size. You could fit this in your Palm Pilot, in your fanny pack, wherever you're traveling throughout the day. Since it is a fan fiction piece, you can pretty much fit this anywhere you want. But the condition of the piece is very good, as you can tell. All the pages are in order. There's no stains. It is in immaculate condition. So, if we look on the bottom, there is no cream at all. Even on the side, the pages, the outer exterior, very good cream. And the top as well, more good cream. Okay, on the side, we have what appears to say, Old Man's War, John Scalzi, New York Times best-selling author. Okay, we're going to get into that later, as Richard has some things to say about that. And we have the genre, which is science fiction, and the Tor book publishing club. Okay, as you can tell here, there is some minor creasing, very minor creasing in the middle of Man and War. This is due to the fact that Richard read this piece while in the woods, most importantly in the Adirondack version of the woods. Okay, and on the back we have some more praise for the main character John Perry that is continuing on in the Old Man War series, from starts in this piece and then branches onward. And you can see he is introduced here. You have the barcode down here, along with the price. Okay, and the price we have here is $17 American and $9.99 Canadian. So, and the cover art, of course, is by John Harris. The price right there is definitely known to be an appropriate stature, considering the fact that Richard doesn't like to pay more than $20 per piece. Okay, he keeps his budget really low, and he's interesting about his biologically well-adapted formidable mention which no longer exists. And of course, there's some controversy around his price gauging and conservatively about the years, 2000, 4000, even 5000 ago, you'd be able to supplement such a fresh crack at it. Nowadays, it's a little supplemented, and you can find that there is a specific time that before nothing is packed, you can ultimately bring it back down to a substantial renegade. Okay. As for the piece itself, inside, you can tell there is a duplicate barcode on the inside. Richard was unaware about this during his first read, and unfortunately, there is two barcodes which lower the score of this book. But there is no reason to have two barcodes on a piece of this magnitude. Apparently, according to New York Times, this is a best-selling author. There should be something else that they're doing in terms of creating some good evidence for this, but this is not the case for here. So we're not going to give too much away in terms of the story and the plot, but overall condition of the piece is very good, as you can see. Here we have the honorable mention, Mr. John Scalzi in the back. That's him. Apparently, he is looking at you, waiting for you to purchase his book. And there's a lot to say about Mr. John Scalzi. So, overall review of this piece right here. Richard rates it very, very poorly. The condition of this piece is immaculate, but the overall story and everything else that John Scalzi has put forth to this, developing this projectile of the piece, very negative. Actually, two thumbs down. This is one of Richard's most hated novels. He felt that the author, John Scalzi, doesn't know too much about how science works, especially space exploration, and that there's a lot of criticism, in fact, with character development and even general storytelling that John Scalzi just doesn't have. He feels he's a very undeservingly praised author. Of course, this New York Times bestselling author and this publishing weekly, all this unnecessary and undeserved praise that goes into Mr. John Scalzi, Richard feels he does not deserve it. He's one of the most uneducated and one of the most futile and amateur authors of our time, as he is desperately trying to become known in the author game. He is ultimately shooting himself in the foot with producing pieces such as Old Man's War. This is an atrocious, sad piece. John Scalzi should be embarrassed by this piece. Richard does not recommend this piece, and he would not pay any more money for any John Scalzi pieces. It's very important to know that Richard also continued reading the Ghost Brigades after this and The Last Colony, and he has opposed opinions on those as well. And you can find his project in the link in the description that he uploaded daily. As for an official rating for Old Man's War, Richard does not even want to keep this piece in his possession. He doesn't want to keep it in his collection. A few months will go by and Richard will find a new home for this piece. And if there are no takers, Richard will ultimately just end up throwing this in the dumpster. Richard does not want to own this piece anymore. He does not want to own anything by John Scalzi, and he collectively agrees that this is one of the most hated pieces that Richard has read. There is little merit to anything inside this. So that's it for Richard Reviews. Today's book that Richard reviewed for us is Old Man's War by John Scalzi, a very amateur and unappreciative author of today's day and age. This is Richard Reviews.